So I bought another one. I know I'm not supposed to. I know that I don't really like it, but bought another original Mamiya Six Folding, and I don't think my feelings have changed on it. You might have watched a video that I made a couple years ago about this particular camera and how it kind of feels like it's a bad boyfriend that I keep getting sucked back into seeing, and I don't think I really like it, but I think I like it, and I think I remember it's a lot better than it actually is. And so I bought another one, and I guess I'm going to talk about it. To preface things, there's my Mamiya 6, the one I love dearly. The new one, the Mamiya 6 MF, was off at the shop, and I had a very square-shaped hole in my photographic heart and didn't have any way to fill it. And I also knew that I had a bunch of like awesome mountain stuff ahead of me that I really wanted a camera for, and I just felt like 35 wasn't going to cut it. One of them, I knew I was going to go up into the Enchantments, and the one time I did that before, I had a 35mm camera, and I loved the photos, but I just felt like medium format will really do what I want to do. I just couldn't, it just was stuck in my brain. So I found a really good deal on eBay. To start off, I knew that I needed to run a tester through it just because there was, I had to make sure it worked before I drug it 20-something miles through the mountains. And so I grabbed this camera, I brought it with me on an engagement session to Chelan and took a roll, and it seemed that the focus is off, which that's a big bummer because I don't know how to fix that. My previous one of these, the focus was perfect on, and so it was instantly like a bit of a problem. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to keep everything in focus on this, especially if I'm shooting in kind of low light. That said, I don't know, the photos turned out kind of cool. They seemed a little bit soft, but in a way that seemed reasonable, but it also felt like things were out of focus, and so therefore it wasn't a good gauge. But it definitely brought me back to using this camera, because I do just love the feel of this thing. Like, pulling it out, there's the way that the camera just snaps out of your hand into your open, into there. Oh, it just feels so good, right? So we're headed to Leavenworth, which is where the Enchantments are, and I knew I'd be doing that 3 run. On the way though, I'd gotten this thing back, and I was like, well, which one should I bring? Should I bring the one that I'm kind of struggling with? But the reason that I bought this camera is because they're pretty comparable in weight. Maybe this one's just a little bit heavier, but it's not too much more. It definitely is more compact. And the more important thing is, if it's going to be jostled around in a backpack for 8 hours, I would like the one that's worth $95, not the one that's worth almost $3,000. So this was the one I was going to do. I was bringing it just to bring it on the run, whereas this one, I had it for the weekend and stuff. And so we had we had some time. We went out and we went to a winery with the friends that we were with.
Come around, lay down your telephone. No, we don't know. We think we're broken or alone. Vibrations don't match. Limitations are a fact. Blow me down from this pedestal.
And then I also brought it to a proposal that I was doing and took what actually is like my most Instagram famous photo of all time.
On me, I've gone from rough to soft. How could this be? Sun can't shine if the knife's not sharp. Peace of mind, I've taught my dolls to bog.
But I just love having this thing back and getting to use it. Just like, oh, it's so much fun. So I think partly because I had this mindset of like, this is, like, I still think every time I grab this little camera, I expect I'm going to get this out of it. So the morning of the Enchantment through hike, we grabbed bags, we threw all our stuff in there and started going. And there was a bit of a snafu because we expected to be able to hitchhike from the lower lot to the upper lot so we could do the run all the way around. But we didn't and ended up adding on a bunch of extra miles. So by the time we started running, we were almost 5-6 miles in what we expected to be at 0, which added a lot on the course of the day. Because we were starting at sunrise-y time and stuff, I started with Portra 400 in here, knowing that, again, because I was worried about the focus issue, I wanted to make sure I was using a pretty fast film that would allow me to use the smallest apertures possible. I also thought that like distance focusing was probably in good shape. So I started shooting, like making sure everything is fully landscape and then shooting it, trying to be f8 or smaller for the rest of the day. And so that was pretty easy because I just didn't take it out until like the sun was up. And then it would be pretty simple to make sure I was shooting at that smaller aperture just because it'd be fine.
I'm slowly fading through the smoke. I can't hear myself think. Now every day since I woke up, I can finally see.
And it was great. It was it's always just like such a good experience using this camera because it's so easy to just pop out of the backpack and use. And having this in my running pack, like I was able to basically just like pack everything on and I would just like set it right inside and then close the top. And so whenever we'd stop, it would be the first thing I take out, it'd be the last thing that I put in. And we started running. And so got up to Kolchak, which was a super pretty morning.
Then it's quiet.
Running around there and then around the lake and up Asgard, which I don't think I really stopped to take many photos during because that's a 1 mile section with like a 2,500 foot vertical climb on it. Like it's no joke. So we were just kind of huffing and puffing uphill for 45 minutes. So didn't really stop to take pictures.
I can hear myself think.
Got up into the core, which was kind of the last few photos on the roll before switching over to Ektar 100 because it was a bright sunny day, so I definitely didn't need any of that extra ISO. So I switched down to a lower film, being able to maintain that f8 to f22 somewhere in that kind of range. And this is where it's super hard to be running through there, just because as a photographer, because that part of the trail is the most beautiful. It is the most epic. It is where you want to be stopping every 30 seconds to take a photo. It is also the most runnable section of the entire trail. And so it's the part where, like, you know, if you're in this to run, you actually can go running through there. stopped and we had lunch and stuff. And we kind of used our time well and started heading down. And by the time we're kind of heading out of the core, I'd used up most of the roll, and so there's only 1 or 2 photos on the way out. And that felt about right. And headed on out, call it a day. Ended up, I think it was just shy of a marathon for the day, so like low 20s, 24, something like that, miles on the day. Really fun, great run. And then headed on back. You might have been thinking through here, and if you're watching this video, every time these photos come up through the enchantments, thinking, hey Joe, those kind of suck. And you're not wrong. They really suck. They're way worse. The best I could say is that, like, I'm looking at this lens in here. It's more dirty and more hazy than my previous Mamiya 6 was. And I got rid of that one because I thought it was really hazy, and this one is way worse. I definitely could have spent more time cleaning this lens, both here on the back side, inside of it, and then also unscrewing the front lens here. Honestly, this part looks okay. It's kind of hazy too. Could have really gone to town with that. And then also put this on bulb, and then opening, and then cleaning on the inside here, because it's a 2 separate part focusing piece. And maybe in the end, maybe that's what I just need to learn, is that this camera is not really my best friend. Unsurprisingly, a camera made in the mid-60s is not nearly as good as a camera made in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't know why I keep expecting them to be as good. Like, they're just not going to be. Like, this camera is old, this camera is new, this camera doesn't have very good of coating, this camera has a much better coating, this camera's internals aren't great, this camera has been professionally cleaned a few times. Like, of course it's going to be better, and so I don't know why I continue to expect that to be any different. It'll probably never really live up to my expectations of what I really want, and so I should move it on. But, like a relationship that I keep getting drawn back into, I kind of don't want to fully let go of it either. I guess I kind of love you, old Mamiya 6. If you have any cameras that you just can't let go, even though you really should, let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. I'll see you around.
So easy,